welcome in. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. We welcome you all in this evening. Welcome, everybody. Woo! Miss Byrne, good to see you. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you. For everybody that's coming in, go ahead and drop in the chat where you are watching us from tonight. We are excited to be able to have everybody join us this evening. So go ahead and drop in the chat. Welcome, Sierra from Lithonia. Woo woo. Hello, Dr. Megan from the Bay Area. Callie in the house. Woo woo. Drop in the chat where you're watching us from this evening. And we are just honored to have you with us tonight. We're going to get started in 2 minutes. So welcome in, everybody. Thank you for being here. We are just excited. Hey, Sean from Decatur. Decatur, where it's greater. We in the GA. Hey, Michelle, how are you in Covington? Woo, Covington, Georgia. Woo. Hello, Michelle. It's good to have everybody in tonight. And you can practice with your emojis because we're going to use those tonight, okay? So go ahead and get some practice in. You know, send up a heart or two, you know, calm out fears and anxieties. Send up a heart, clap your hands if you want to, give God a little praise. We'll take it. We'll take it. Hey, welcome, Joyce from South Fulton. GA is in the house, showing up big, okay? GA is in the house, showing up big. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you. Byrne from Kingsland, Georgia. Woo! Yay. Kingsland's in the house. Woo, woo. Welcome in, everybody. Once again, thank you for joining us. If you want to go ahead and just drop in the chat where you're from, we're going to welcome you. And we are just so excited. Brianna from Macon, Georgia. Listen, GA is in the house. Georgia is on our minds. Okay. Georgia is on our minds tonight. Welcome, Brianna. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Hey, Dawn, how are you? Her assistant is taking notes tonight. Okay, I love it, Dawn. I love it. You're going to get some good gems tonight. And I'm just going to go on and tell you right now. You're going to get some good gems. But it's good to see you, Pastor. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here. So I guess, y'all, we can go ahead and kick this off. Is there a doctor? Whoop, y'all see one? Is there a doctor? Whoop, is there a doctor in the house? Oh my goodness. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We extend our warmest greetings to you. We are so excited to welcome you tonight to our virtual conversation around self-care. We are just excited to have you here. So I will say to each of you joining us tonight, your presence means so much for us being here. We know that you are tirelessly serving others all the time. And sometimes in the midst of our selfless dedication, we forget to nourish ourselves. I remember last week talking to Dr. Megan, and she poured so many gems just in 30 minutes. It was amazing. But when I left the call, I felt so much better. So this doctor appointment tonight is just not about self-care. It's about self-love, self-empowerment. The time we spend together tonight will allow us to grab some strategies from the doctor that's in the house and provide a pathway to wholeness and endurance to run on and see what the end gonna be. As faith leaders, as pastors, as clergy, as leaders in the faith community, we understand that you need support and encouragement and practical next steps. So guess what? You get all of that tonight. You get support from us. You get some practical steps from the doctor. When she comes into the room for the appointment, just get ready, okay? Just get ready. Just get ready. So, welcome everybody who's joining us. We are just excited to have you here. Thank you for taking time out this afternoon to be with us. And without further ado, listen, this is the doctor appointment. You have shown up at the right place at the right time. You on time for your appointment. And so we are about to go ahead and just dive right in to this appointment. So, what happens at your doctor's appointments? The nurse comes in and does some vital signs. So let me introduce our nurse tonight. Nurse Sierra Phillips is in the room, and she's about to come to do some vital signs. Sierra, are you ready? I think she's ready, y'all. Here she comes. The nurse.
I'm ready.
All right. Take it away, Nurse Sierra. Woo-woo. And don't forget, everybody, you can use your emojis, your claps. We are informal tonight in this discussion. And Nurse Sierra is about to give you take some vital signs. So here we go.
Well, hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hello, and welcome to your wellness checkup. I will be your nurse today. I am Nurse Cece, and I'm going to start by checking some vitals here. Let me just get you to sit up straight and take a deep breath as I check your oxygen levels. Inhale, please, and exhale. Good. How did that feel? I also have my thermometer here. All right. And if you lean forward, please, I'm going to check your temperature. How are you doing? I want to see if you have been running on fumes. Okay. Lastly, your pressure. I need to check your pressure to see how you have been handling the pressures of life. Is there a doctor in the house? Yes, thank God there is. Now, this will be an interactive wellness checkup. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Your doctor will go over a wellness plan with you. So I would suggest that you get your pen and paper so that you can jot down your wellness plan that the doctor will give you. We're going to kick this meeting off going to our amazing senior partnership specialist, Miss Shun Tucker-Allen. Shun, take it away.
Thank you so much, Cece. Listen, this right here makes me want to go to the doctor. A lot of times people are apprehensive, but I'm going to say if all doctors could be this way. So I am blessed to be here. I want to thank you all, Teresa, for putting this together, Dr. Meag-gan for doing what you just do, which is so exceptional. And let me preface by saying that I am here to give a few strategy tips. As we know, Faircount is a nonpartisan organization that works to ensure that the communities that we serve have what they need to participate in the census, for the redistricting process, and certainly for the voting season. And so I don't want to give you all of these hardcore things, and we're here for a checkup. So I want to say to everyone that is out there right now, everyone that'll be out there on the back end, we know a lot of times we get tremendous tick-ups on the back end of these events. So I want to preface this by saying to you all that these are tips that we want you to use, but we want you to use them in ways that are gentle to you. Faith leaders, we know there are lots of things on you. And so I do not look to burden you with one more thing. What I want to encourage you all to do is to share the wealth and spread some of this out, because there's a lot going on in this voting season and it's too much for one person. So I just want to take this opportunity and share a few strategies. It looks like maybe I'm going to be sharing my screen. So just give me a second here. Hopefully you all can see everything okay. And
Yes.
let's get started. So the very first thing that I just want to talk about a little bit is why faith leaders are so important. And the number one reason that every single one of us on this call knows is that you are important because you are trusted. We cannot do any single thing that comes up in life without our faith leaders. You are our frontline workers, whether it is COVID, whether it is average every day. You are our people, and we thank God certainly for you. But we also recognize that you have the power of your network, engaging communities, whether it's your members, and also encouraging your members to in turn encourage their friends. So whatever civic participation we're asking you to engage in, we just know that we can't do this without you. And so I just want to talk about some of the things that you all can do. First and foremost, as I mentioned, this is a daunting election season. So the number one thing that I want to encourage you to do is to bake all of these strategies into things you are already doing. Faith leaders, we're not asking you to do anything new. We are asking you to just do what you do. When you are doing your worship services each week, whether it's your worship service, whether it's Sunday school or Sabbath school, which is what I grew up going to, your Bible studies, Juma, whatever your service may be, taking that as an opportunity to just lift up those key opportunities. Again, we're in the voting season. So that can also be your weekly announcements. That can be your bulletin inserts, just low-level things that you can do to just keep it front and center. But also encouraging others in your network. The power that you have as faith leaders, a lot of times you are educated in seminaries and you have contacts all over states. And so just really encouraging you to reach out to some of those within your network to encourage them. But the one thing that I started out by saying is that it's not all on you. So let me emphasize, one of the greatest things you can do is form a committee at your faith institution and know that that committee is based on what you have. Sometimes that may be one faithful person that lives for organizing and getting everybody together. Listen, this is that person's lane. Let them do what they are good at doing. So again, all of this bulk is not on you. Certainly, if you have the capacity, starting a social action committee and just making sure that they're reaching out to those that are often the ones that we want to ensure getting these messages. And so here are just a few strategies that I have up. I want to let you know that you will get all of this on the back end of the recording tonight. So we will make this available, but just a few strategies that I'm already going to claim in advance that you're going to work with your social action team on, or that little faithful person in the church. But one thing you want to do is you want to ensure that everyone within your congregation is registered to vote. And let me just say real quick, that is as simple as asking everybody in the congregation to stand up. And if you are registered to vote, sit down. And guess what? Everybody that's standing up, we know that they need to be registered. So there you go. Just that little nugget, those little small things. And you do that weekly, each week. And the hope is that eventually everybody will sit down. Thus, everybody is registered. You also want to you want to stress the importance of people checking their voter status. We know My Voter Page is what we use here in Georgia. Certainly, we have had a redistricting process that has shuffled lots of things around. So just being super conscious to just remind your leaders of those important voting dates and checking their MVP page. And the other key thing is encouraging your members to make a plan to vote. How are you going to vote? Just stopping and thinking, is it better for me to absentee vote? Should I go in and early vote? We're going to encourage you to early vote. We're going to say, if you're voting on the day of election, you may have waited too late. So we're going to encourage you to early vote, early vote, early vote. But the most important thing for you as a faith leader is to just encourage your people to make a plan and also charge them a little bit of homework. Dr. Megan's probably going to give y'all some homework too, but a little bit of homework. Have your members encourage at least 3 others. Every one of us knows 3 people that we can follow from now until the end of the voting season to just ensure that they are voting. If you have church vans, listen, it's as clear as it is. Use them for those rides to the polls. And then one other little nugget that I'll put in there is those of us doing this work understand that oftentimes there are people that may vote provisionally, which means maybe you show up at the wrong polling location, maybe you didn't have your ID, they allow you to vote, and you have a certain time period that they call it ballot curing. And so we're going to encourage you today to stay on your members and remind them, even after the election, the work is not done until those ballots are cured. So really encouraging your congregants to cure those ballots. And so some other things that your faith institution can do, just become a resource hub. That is as simple as connecting with an organization, whether it's Fair Count, whether it's any other organization out there, to just have nonpartisan voting literature. We have great trifold literature on what each position does. Having things like that in your vestibule, just being a resource hub for the community, for your faith institution, regularly updating your marquee. There is just simply power when I drive through my community. I'm a little bit blessed because one of the greatest first ladies and pastors in my community happens to be our very own Lady Teresa Thompson. But I can't tell you how proud I feel living in this neighborhood and driving by their church and seeing that marquee so dedicated to lifting up those key things. Sometimes, faith leaders, it's just those little steps. It's those things. It is taking the steps to make sure everyone in the community has what they need. Whether you are hosting voter forums or programming or even voting as a congregation during Souls to the Polls, and you see on there that I snuck in that little sacred scripture when I'm talking about those surrounding community members, because again, as people of faith, I am here to remind you tonight that we serve everyone, and most certainly, we are obligated to always remember the least of these. You know your scripture. You know what Matthew is telling you. So I'm going to challenge you to think about your community. Ensuring that your congregation votes is absolutely what you see on this screen today. When we vote, we do better. When we participate in the census, we do better. When we create fair maps for our communities, we do better. So I want to encourage you to encourage your members and everyone else around, because if you're not counted, you simply don't count. And before I sneak out of here, I just want to throw up some key ways, because just in case you didn't know, Fair Count is standing ready and waiting to help you. We have faith organizers. I'm going to say that again, faith organizers. Those of you in the faith space understand there are not a lot of faith organizers out there. We are so blessed at Fair Count to have faith organizers that are ready to help you, whether you are here, whether you are in Mississippi. We stand waiting. And here are just a few ways that you can help us and we can help you. One, that whether it's somebody on that social action committee, whether it's that one faithful person that we talked about that's going to shoulder this, have them connect with Fair Count. Let us help you. Let us help them. And stay connected with us. Stay connected. Share our resources. We already have them. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. That nonpartisan information you need, we got it. We're waiting on you. Have them speak. We share information with them, and then they in turn speak before the congregation to share those little nuggets that we're giving them. And also collecting commit to vote cards. It has been proven that when people commit to vote, they follow through a little bit more than when they don't. And I am going to conclude with this fancy QR code that you can simply put your phone up and you can zap it. And guess what? You can get in touch with all of us. Again, we are all standing waiting. So whether you are in real time, whether you're in, as we used to say back in the day, play time, whatever time it is, we're here for you. This is why we work. I want to take this moment to let each of you know how deeply grateful I am to have the opportunity to serve you all and to do what I do. And I thank you for every single thing you do. And as always, I thank God for every single thing that we have done up until this moment. I thank the Creator for everything we're doing tonight with Dr. Meag-gan. And I absolutely thank the Creator for every single thing we will do in advance. Thank you so much. And I think now I'm about to get it ready for the doctor. She's on her way.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much to my sister in Christ, Shun Tucker-Allen. I appreciate you for giving us those nuggets that we need. We couldn't show up tonight without getting this civic education tonight. So thank you so much, Shun. Thank you, Nurse CC, for kicking it off and getting a few of our vital signs. Listen, we got to test the room. We got to take the temperature of the room. So much is going on, everybody. And tonight, we're hoping that we give you these strategies. We've given you some civic engagement strategies you can take back to your congregations. But also, we're going to give you some gems, some nuggets. Is there a doctor in the house? Listen, she in here. I'm just a physician's assistant. I'm going to take your pulse. Okay, wait. I'm going to take your pulse. Do 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 do. Go ahead and drop an emoji, a heart emoji, to let me know that your pulse is do do. I'm getting a heartbeat, getting heartbeats, getting some heartbeats. I see them. I'm getting some heartbeats. All right, awesome, awesome. So we know that you are yet alive and in this space tonight. So before we bring the doctor into the room, I got to do a PSA really quickly. I'm gonna get in trouble. So I can't get in no trouble, but I got to do a quick PSA about the FAIR program. Sierra, would you share those slides? So if you have not heard about this program called the FAIR program, Faith and Innovation Resources Program that I get to manage, hold on, help is on the way. Next slide, Sierra. So this church management software, or our FAIR program, provides church management software to every church, no matter the size, denomination, or location. So let me ask you these 3 questions that you see on the screen. And if you say yes, then I need to see you over in the checkout room before we leave tonight. Amen. Amen. Does your church need a way to keep up with member information? Amen. Does your church want to create a digital directory? I know you're saying, yeah, absolutely. If you were on mute, you'd be like, yes, shouting yes. Does your church need a way to send mass texts and emails? I hear it. I hear it. Do y'all hear it like I hear it? I hear yes, yes, and yes. Does your church need an additional way to get more money? Like tithes and offerings, money to do ministry? Yes, absolutely. I heard you say yes. I heard you say yes. So look no further. Hold on. Help is on the way. We've created the FAIR program, Faith and Innovation Resources Program, that will allow you to get this software for free. Somebody pass the offering plate at the doctor's office. Pass the offering plate. Yes, you can get this software that we have in this FAIR program for free. We cover the cost of it. Next slide for me, Sierra. We do cover the cost of this software for you. It does allow you to send mass texts and emails with the press of a button. It allows you to stay aligned so you can get money to do ministry, and you can stay organized so you have all of your member data at your fingertips. So after we check out, let me know this evening if you are interested in this program. And listen, we got you. We got you. We got you. Next slide, Sierra.
I'm sorry, 1 minute.
No, that's okay. Here is my contact information. I don't have a fancy dancy QR code like Shun, but take down my phone number and my email and our website, because you can connect with me and I can get you this free church management software. So all of that out of the way. It's done. It's over. We've done your vital signs. We've given you a little bit of medicine for civic engagement and a little bit of medicine for free church management software. Woo-hoo. So you've taken your pre-meds, you've gotten your vital signs checked, and now, is there a doctor in the house? Is it a doctor? Is there a doctor in the house? I believe that we have the absolute best primary care physician for self-care in the room tonight. You are in for an amazing treat tonight. I know Sierra said you may want to grab your pen and pencils. I'm telling you, get your pen and pencils out, because this doctor, who is absolutely amazing, is about to come into our exam room, and she's about to do the examination. But she's going to give you some gems tonight. And so without further ado, I want to bring to the stage, to the exam room, the incredible Dr. Meag-gan O'Reilly. Listen, go ahead and put your hand claps in, put some heart emojis in, and let's welcome Dr. Meag-gan tonight as she comes in and does the examination and does the paperwork this evening. So take it away, Dr. Meag-gan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go ahead as I share my screen with just some gratitude, right? This space that we've created is already phenomenal. So let me go into slideshow mode here so y'all can see what I see. And we know that when the doctor comes in, you've been waiting for a minute. Hopefully it was been worth the time. And I'm going to look at your pre-work here. Okay. Yes, I adorned the white lab coat for us today. And even though I'm not an MD, I'm a PhD. What does that mean? That means I spent a long time in school studying this human condition, right? Which is what really brought us all here today, whether you're a faith leader, pastor, family member, we're interested in this phenomenal spiritual experience, right? So I've spent a long time studying up what it takes to be well and to remove the obstacles to our wellness. So if you didn't know, the pre-work included a couple questions, key questions, right? So I like to ask people how they're doing. And then I like to ask them again, because we know that y'all will fire off with fine before I'm done with the question. How you doing? Fine? Some of us will go as far as to say blessed and highly favored. And be that as it may, although that is true, there's more nuance to our narratives, right? If we're being 100. So before you say fine, I asked some of us before we gathered here today these 4 questions. Have you slept a full 8 hours of sleep? Okay. So go ahead in the chat. Some of us are feeling seen already. Have you done one of these things? 1 out of the 4, 2 out of the 4, 3 out of the 4, or maybe even all of them. Have you slept? Sleep is foundational. We need to treat it like an activity. How many of us use sleep to make more time in the day? So we eat it out of our sleep. We stay up late, we get up early, right? How many of us have even said, I'll sleep when I'm dead? That's not how it works, y'all. If you needed the doctor to tell you, that's not how it works, right? Sleep consolidates memory. Sleep allows us to rejuvenate, right? Everything, every creature sleeps in some way, right? We're getting to our sacred significance here, right? How about how many of us have fueled our body with 3 nutritious meals a day? Ooh, some of us just dropped off, right? The pre-work said that most of us are sleeping, but not all of us are fueling our body. How many of us see food as fuel? Some of us see food as an inconvenient time suck in the day. Oh, come on. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I got to pause to eat. What are we saying about what is nourishing to us if it's a drain on our time? How warped is our ideas of a productivity if being well isn't cheap on that list, right? And I'm not coming on from Mount High telling us this. I'm in the same boat. I remember someone sent me a 15-minute relaxing podcast, like a guided meditation. And I said, 15 minutes? Ain't nobody got time for that. So we're going to talk about time here in a minute. But some of us aren't even pausing to fuel our bodies with nutritious, life-giving food, okay? Here's an interesting one. Number 3, pre-work asked you, how many of us got about 8 to 10 minutes of sunlight recently, this week, right? Ever since COVID, we have been working from home, not even commuting, and we are like complex plants. Think of it that way. We need the sun, right? Especially for those of us that are melanated, we need extra time for that vitamin D to penetrate, right? So get yourself some sun. There's so much research on the benefits of the outdoors, right? Bodies of water, green trees, right? So get that vitamin D. Don't be a hermit in the house. And then lastly, and what I think they're all important, but very profoundly, I asked y'all, how many of us have shared openly about something important to us, something personal to one other living person? I love the cats, I love the dogs, but I'm talking about a human person, right? Why is this one so important for our pre-work check? In your roles as leaders, right? We can often be pedestalized, okay? Looked to. And this is a great thing. But one of the side effects of being a leader is the isolation up there on that pedestal, right? You're set apart. Sometimes they're even othered. And sometimes that pedestal brings pressure and the false valence of perfectionism. Oh, I gotta be perfect since I'm leading. One of the paradigm shifting ideas I want to bring to you is that you're a better leader with your full humanity, right? Because when you're not perfect, you grant permission. Jot that one down. Jot that one down. When you're not perfect, you grant permission, right? If Lady T has real feelings, maybe so can I, right? If the people I admire and look up to have a full human experience, I can allow for mine. This is the beginnings of some grace, right? So based on our pre-work, it's looking pretty sparse, y'all. Only 20% of us are eating regularly. Not very many of us are sharing, but most of us are getting some sleep. Good, we gotta start somewhere, all right? So I wanna take us further, right? I just posted on Instagram. Follow me if you wish, because I'm using my social media to really share the good news of self-care. Here are some of the things that we've been groomed to think where our worth comes from, right? The amount of work you get done in a day, basically your productivity. Y'all are busy people, moving and shaking and holding the spiritual health of your congregation. There's a lot to get done, right? And we all love to be productive, right? I'm the type of person that I have a to-do list. And if I get something done on my to-do list that I didn't write down, trust and believe I will write it in just so I could check it off. Am I among my people? Could anybody else do that? Throw a hand up. Yes. There's a lot of gratification when we get something done. However, our culture and our society is so focused on productivity that we often forsake our well-being. So here's our next gem. The most productive thing you can do is protect your well-being. Because without you, there ain't no work getting done. What if we could change what productivity meant? What if rest was on that list? What if joy was on that list? What if protecting your peace was on that list? We're going to talk about how. So what you do, your service is not the most important thing you do, right? That's not where your worth comes from. Your grades, your performance review, I work a lot with students, your weight, your job title, all that you have survived. These things don't define you. They're part of your story, right? Okay. So let's ask ourselves just a layer deeper some questions. We know what the pre-work was. We have some of our vitals and where we're falling on things. Let's take a deeper look into why is self-care so hard, right? To be honest with you, I think it's part of the title, self-care. A lot of us kind of cringe on that, right? Is self-care selfish? We come from a sacrificial faith. Sacrifice is at the cornerstone of our faith. We like to look to giving to others. So I think even just the term self-care, some of us might turn a dark ear to it, right? Kind of rule it out, right? But let me ask y'all, if you're a pillar person, where do you lean, right? Let's just look at this together. I said the go-to people, and you know who you are, need to have someone to go to. Sometimes the pillars need to lean as well. Yeah. Now, we don't have time to get into it, but some of us have been pillar people well before our roles as leaders and faith leaders and pastors, right? In our family, in our community, with our siblings, right? We're the strong one, right? Yeah. Strong people also need to pull strength from others, right? So ask yourself, am I leaning? Do I allow others to see that humanity? And what is lost when I don't allow that? People just think I got it together all the time. I just got it like that. Is that true? The answer is no. Yes, we can be very grateful and have seasons of really getting it done, but all of us, particularly in these days, need to lead at times. So what does that look like? We're going to get into it. But I want us to look at some questions together. This will really help us unearth why our orientation to self-care is as distant as it might be, right? Now, whenever you're excavating, looking deep into stuff, which sometimes we don't like to do, I want you to be compassionate with whatever you dig up, right? Be compassionate with whatever we find here, okay? Because all this is going to be rich data for us to chart a new way forward. Nothing that we find is wrong or bad. It's usually a survivor skill, something we had to do or chose to do for a season. But seasons change, right? Some of our survivor skills may have overstayed their utility or overstayed their welcome, right? Let me put it to you this way. Sometimes the shields, things that protected us, become our fences, things that box us in if we don't appropriately grow from them, all right? So whatever you find here on when you ask yourself these questions, lovingly look at it, okay? Number one, who are or were, let's just go with growing up. Who were your self-care role models? Now, some of us are already scratching our head. A role what? Dr. Meag-gan, what? A self-care role model? What's that? A self-care role model is someone who demonstrated to you what it looked like, what it meant, the importance of taking care of themselves. Take a minute. Think about your formative years, which psychologists we say are 0 to 10. That's when our template of a lot of things get formed. Not that we have to stay with that template forever, but that's where a lot of our concepts of how to be get formed. So who were those pivotal people? Mom, dad, auntie, uncles, siblings, grandparents, faith community members. Did they demonstrate through their behaviors, not with what they said, y'all, did they show you that it's important to take out time for themselves?
Dr. Meag-gan, that's deep, Dr. Meag-gan. So we're gonna just open the lines for a moment. Does anybody want to answer this question? Do you have a self-care role model? Anybody?
You know what? I think for me, I saw hard-working women, and I think I thought that was self-care. I thought it was, oh, you got to do it. You know, you got to take on. I mean, and I'm talking grandmother, auntie, mother, like a lineage, right, of hard-working women. And so, in that age range, maybe you think that's self-care. You think that's self-care because you are taking care of yourself and putting your best foot forward, and you're always on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I used to have an aunt who I thought was just the cat's meow. And she would go and have massages done. She would go on vacations. She would go, and I always thought that that was wonderful. But I think some people used to think that she was kind of flighty. You know, why is she always doing that? And it really, now that I look back at it, she was taking care of herself. She was doing those things that made her happy. Now, for me, a good shopping trip. Okay, I'm sorry, First Lady, I didn't mean that, Lady T. But doing a little self care. I hear you, Sierra. So, but now that I look back at it, she was actually taking care of herself and not just flying off here and going here and having brunch with her girlfriends. She would be the ones who would organize that, but they'd sit down and she'd be the one to talk about what was going on in their lives and what's happening. But now, hey, Auntie Lovey, you were doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely, Miss Deb. And I think for me it was, oh yeah, the shopping trip, y'all. Let's plan that when we get off. Don't
Retail
tell
therapy.
the pastor.
It was just retail therapy.
It's a thing.
But for me, it was, I never thought that, I thought like if I did something for me, I got to do it for everybody else. And I was always last, and then I would be sleeping. I never got self-care. I mean, I never thought that I could take time out and like go do nothing, sit down, or just go eat a meal, or I'm always thinking of I'm serving somebody 24/7. And then when the burnout hit, I'm wondering why I'm burnout.
Mm,
I'm wondering why.
mhm.
Anybody else want to share your role model?
Yes. Yes. So my role model is my 89-year-old uncle. He gets a massage every week.
Mm,
So I go once a month. I said, if he can go every week, I can go once a month. And that's what I'm committed to.
mm,
So I go to a spa once a month. And I'm committed to getting my hair done, which is more than the process of just getting my hair shampooed. It's where I go is an amazing place that feeds the mind, and the hair is at the same time. So those are two things I'm committed to. So does that mean there are other things that I don't do? Absolutely, but I prioritize those two things.
mhm, mhm. Yes, I liking what I'm hearing, y'all. I love what I'm hearing. And there's this whole spectrum of responses. A lot of us, myself include, saw people making a way out of no way all the time, nonstop. And we downloaded that. Some of us have seen some outliers, and maybe they were talked about and given names, but they were protecting their peace. And now through our adult eyes, they were like, that's what they were doing. They knew they couldn't pour for an empty cup. So they found a way to replenish. Okay. Like I said, a lot of times psychology is archaeology. So keep digging. What did you download? Who were your role models? Okay. Let's take it one step in another direction. That was then. This is now. So what's this slide about? It looks a little strange. This is a thought experiment. Sometimes we got to get out of our own head to really critique and look at ourselves. So one interesting question I love to give my clients to have them engage with it is, because sometimes I'll ask them, are you taking care of yourself? They'll say yes, much like y'all spit out fine real quick. So, but what about this? To kind of really toy with it a bit. If an alien came down, sci-fi, right, and started just observing you silently for 24 hours, let's call it 48 hours, right? What would their report say about what you find important and valuable? Just looking at your behaviors. They didn't talk to you. That would probably scare us, right? This alien from another planet doesn't know our culture or our demands or how things work here. They're just watching your behavior. What would their report say as what is important to you? Would you be on that list? Or would this alien say, this humanoid lives at its occupation, lives at the church, does not eat, does not seem to need water, does not sleep, does not take breaks, lives in a pod on its own? Like, what would this alien's observations be? Let's get honest. Any thoughts on this? Tap in.
All of the above.
Right, right. The lunch and the break. Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Running here and there, to and fro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. They must think they have more than 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's me. I think she got more than 24.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else
Yeah.
want to chime in? Cynthia Ingram says my self-care has been seasonal.
Interesting. I'd
That's
love for you, Cynthia, to go off mute and tell us what you mean by that. I know there's more there. If you're willing.
Good evening. What I mean is that there are times when I do more things, and it just depends on what's going on. I have done the massages once a week. Have just have a girls' day with my sister and my daughter where we just do nothing but people watch or window shop or get our nails done. But it's seasonal depending on what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How, just in your heart or through your emojis, raise your hand if you understand that. I'll do the self-care when there's time. I'll put it in if there's a spaciousness. Yeah. A lot of us orient to self-care that way, right? I'll do it if I can. That says a lot about where self-care is prioritized, right? If there's a lull or some spaciousness, then I'll do it. And I like that better than nothing. It's a start.
Now
And yeah,
I would like to add, I have gotten better at doing more things for me and not feeling guilty about it. Simply because I've gotten older and understand that I don't have to, like my parents would say, dance on every set.
yeah,
Wow.
wise words. Yes. So
Dr.
with that
Meag-gan,
age brought wisdom. Yeah.
I would add that the one thing that I think I struggle with a lot is even having the time to do self-care. Like sometimes just making the time to do self-care feels like a whole nother job. I mean, I'm being transparent. And the one thing that I try to do, the work that I do is, is heavy work. And so sometimes I have even had to tell myself when I partake in trash TV, which I'm just being transparent and admitting, in many ways, that's the best I can do. I'm not here to plug any shows, but I'm just saying, I mean, sometimes it's just that basic for me to just watch a 30-minute show that I'm embarrassed to tell people I'm watching, but it just takes me away from my real job. But I just wanted to lift up that sometimes it's just hard to even find the time for self-care. So
Yes. Shauna, thank you for this share because this humanity has given us a lot of permission. I'm seeing the emojis go off and the chat light up. Let me pause here for a moment because this is a very real piece of any conversation on self-care. The time factor, right? So, I'm not saying I'm watching Love is Blind, but maybe, that zoning out. Let me just give everyone the grace that yes, when you only have so much time, the lowest hanging fruit is what the one you're going to pluck, right? There's humanity in that, right? And I want to invite us to think that there is a difference between vegetative states, and self-care, right? Now, when the lack of self-care has gotten to a chronic point, that's usually where we find habitual ways of taking care of ourselves, which I'm going to be point blank because it's my job. Got to tell y'all the news. Oftentimes, escapism isn't self-care. Yeah. Yeah. When we have so much stress that dissociating is our go-to, that's a sign. That's a piece of data for us, right? Here's a good way to define self-care. Self-care are the activities that help you build a life that you don't need to regularly escape from. So,
Okay, Dr. Meag-gan, I need you to repeat. Okay, repeat. Okay, listen. Wait. Okay. Okay, Dr.
Yeah,
Meag-gan.
I need to write that down. Can you repeat that?
Yes. Self-care are the routines, practices, and activities that help you build a life that you don't need to regularly escape from, right? So if you're pining away for the vacation at the end of the year, or the holiday break, or the end of the day TV Netflix binge, those could be loving and compassion, sending you this message. Those could be escapist behaviors, right? Right? I saw this meme, it landed. It said, "You're not tired, you're unfulfilled." What did that meme mean? It meant that some of the things that fulfill us take energy. But again, if we're at a point where we don't have it, we'll go for the low calorie self-care. We'll go for that empty stuff, right? Now, there are some really good edifying shows. I'm not saying TV ain't it. I'm saying, do you have a diversity of strategies? If it's always the same one, that's a sign, right? So I have a whole class, which is heavily attended, on self-care versus self-sabotage, right? Self-care versus escapism. And one of those determinants is it spontaneous and rationalized and habitual? Or is it planned in advance, intentional and replenishing? How do we feel after the 4th episode of that show? Not so great, right? We're kind of fused with the couch, or our eyes are a little crossed, right? So how do I return to my life after that activity? That will tip you off if it was self-care, nourishing, replenishing, affirming, or if it was escaping, numbing, empty calories. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Be gentle with ourselves. I'm in the same boat. It was a good season last year. Love is Blind came with it, right? How is this landing on folks? What questions do we have? As that's percolating, we all can easily get to a place where the lack of self-care is so chronic and the burnout is so omnipresent that we do pluck that low-hanging fruit all the time. And that is because we're kind of in a work cycle. There's a lot of systems here that brings us to a place where we can't treat self-care like hydration, something we're regularly doing. We usually treat self-care like thirst, right? What do we do when we're thirsty? We grab the bottle, we guzzle it, spilling half of it. We gotta have it, right? It's spontaneous. It can be overdone, right? It's all at once. And then we feel guilty. Oh, I spent a little too much, or I took a little too much time away. And that guilt puts us off from engaging in that self-care for too long, creating the conditions to guzzle it again. It's a vicious cycle. So that's thirst. But if we treat self-care like hydration, some things we're regularly doing, at least weekly, monthly, quarterly, right? Then we're staying at a place where to use a car analogy, we're staying lubricated. Our brake pad is thick. So when that stressor comes, we have something to pull from. Like the nurse said, some of us are already running on E, right? And that's not the most advantageous place to start a self-care plan. That's why it feels like labor. But if self-care is feeling like labor to you, you're already on fumes and you're like, how dare you ask me to do something else? I already gave it all. So that indication, that pushback is also information. Yeah. Let's let that sit. Let's let the silence do the work. Because isn't that absurd? If someone inviting you to say, hey, love on you a little more, and you're like, why, how? I ain't got no time. That's saying a lot, right? Yeah. As you set that on simmer, I really want to take some time to introduce this next thought, okay? Because some of us might be in our fields thinking, man, I'm doing this all wrong. How do I do it then? Well, here we go. What if we just put aside this idea of self-care? I got some new terms for you that your soul might receive a little better. The first one is community care. And I love this term. It's emerging more and more in the literature, and I think it's actually more accurate. Nothing we do by ourselves. So why would self-care be any different, right? Even our whole concept of self is dependent on others, right? Some of the most profound ways I even identify myself are in relationship, right? I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a granddaughter, right? I'm a wife, I'm a child of God. These are in proximity to others. I think one of the hardest things about self-care is that we feel like we got to do it on our own. We got to make time. We got to do. What if community care was something you did? What is community care? Community care is identifying those people and spaces that edify you. Now, I'm going to be very clear in this group. For people who are servant leaders, for people who are givers, we can get this twisted. We could take this to mean, oh, I'll be around people as my self-care. But there are people who take and there are people who give. And that's natural in all relationships. But we're looking at what are those relationships that are inherently reciprocal, that are going to pour in maybe more than they asked to pour out. I'm in the same boat. I'm a psychologist. I get a lot of identity and edification from giving. But if that is our lane, our ministry, our calling, we got to be even more intentional about seeking out those spaces where we can be poured into. Okay. Who are those people? I like to say we need at least two, because when one's busy, we can call the other, right? At least two that can hold, uplift, and mirror your joy, hold room for your pain, and really walk with you and allow you to lean, right? I also read that sometimes community care is doing the things you need to do anyway in community, right? So maybe a friend comes over while you're cooking dinner. You got to do that. I also read that a suggestion was go grocery shopping together. That's not my thing because I'm in and out. I'm like bam, 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 bam. But if that could work for you, work for you. What are the rote things of your life that you're already getting done that you can fold in someone, be it on FaceTime or in person, right? We don't have to live such siloed lives, right? Who anticipates your needs, right? Let me just share this with y'all. I had a revelation. So I have two young babies, one's 5 and one's 1. And I realized that I could treat myself like my toddler. How do I treat my toddler? Well, I always have snacks on deck, things that she likes to eat. I'm looking out for when her nap time is and allowing her to rest without any guilt. I always have engaging things she likes to do, right? And I was like, when do I nap? Where are my snacks? You know? So call it community care, call it toddler care. How do you treat you? If you give it to someone else, give it to yourself first, or at least as well. If you have a service, if you have a talent, if you know something is good to give to someone else, do you give it to you?
Dr. Megan, that's deep. We need to pass the offering parade. Like who got? Okay, I'm going back on mute. My God.
Yeah. Let's let that simmer, right? Yeah. So community care. The other idea here, which I want y'all to let me know how this feels, is so I call myself a self-worth expert. My mission is helping people reclaim their sense of worth so they can be well. Because when you're walking in your worth, everything changes. You get boundaries, you get assertiveness, you get agency because you know what your value is and you think that's important and precious enough to protect, right? So I use the word self-worth a lot, but the word worth is a little problematic, right? It comes from a capitalist system that tells us there's a value to things. Mm. When it comes to human beings, though, y'all, our worth is inherent, right? So taking that word worth out completely, I landed on the term sacred significance. Sacred significance. You are important because you are created, right? Your importance is inherent, right? So when we don't include ourselves in the robustness of our giving, we're kind of throwing some shade on that sacredness that is housed in us, right? So again, would that aliens report include you on the things that it observed are important in your life, right? So even if you got nothing done today, even if you helped nobody, because that's where a lot of our sense of value comes from as helpers, you're supposed to love yourself on purpose, yet for no reason. That's the definition of unconditional value. On purpose, deliberately, but for no because. Not because I did this, or because I accomplished that, or because I led this, just because. Now, this is hard to wrap our mind around because a lot of things in our culture are tit for tat or conditional, right? But you are not. Your value is not. That's my whole mission, is to reprogram us on that. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to hear from y'all. How is this percolating? Can we wrap our hands around this?
Not If there was a Zoom couch, I'm laid out on the couch, on the Zoom couch right now. I'm laid out. Somebody put a sheet over me. I am done. You're really helping me. Like I wrote down so much stuff over here. I'm so glad this is recorded. I'm going back. This is like I'm in shock because I think I thought I was doing a little better than I was, but I'm realizing what you said about how do I return to my life after that. That hit home for me because you're right. I've been watching Love Is Blind too, Dr. Megan. Listen, girl, why was they doing that on season 6? Okay, but
Out of pocket.
but that's so funny you said that because I loved Love Is Blind. I'm just using that example, right? But as the seasons got on, I started saying this is not really serving. I'm really not. You know what I'm saying? I kind of went away from that. And I said I wasn't going to watch it anymore because I just felt like it wasn't what you said, fulfilling anymore. But then, of course, the buzz got going with season 6. So I was like, let me see what they're doing. But I like what you said, how do I return to my life? So that makes me check what I thought was self-care, that maybe I'm not being fulfilled or nourished by those things. And, and that changes. So I love that you said that.
I'm
That
glad that resonates.
inventory right there.
Amen. Let it be so. Compassionately, because we're going to find ourselves doing it again.
Yeah.
But it's about successive approximations in the right direction. It's never one and done. I'm happy to hear that. What's resonating with others?
I gotta pick a starting point. Get started better because I'm the low hanging fruit. Listen, the spoiled fruit, the no fruit, that's that's me. And it used to be much worse. I mean, my church family can attest to. They like you to energize the bunny. Do you ever sit down? And like, do you ever do anything for you? Like, no, they had to gift me with a whole hair appointment, Dr. Megan, because I just didn't go. Like, oh, I can't go get my hair done. I got time for that. Like, what are you saying? That made no sense, right? Right. So I've got to pick a starting point. Which was one of our questions that we have is how do I get started?
Yes.
Even though that sounds so simple, but I know you're going to give us our wellness plan, but one of our questions was how do I get started?
Let's really focus on that here in 1 minute, because actually it might sound simple to get started. It's actually the hardest part. Until you have this virtuous upward cycle, it's hard to really get into a new way of viewing yourself in the world and your role in it, right? How do I carve out space for just me, and is that okay? So one last nugget here before we press on to the plan. We want the tangibles. I love tangibles, but we need to know why too. In my back pocket, when I'm convincing the most stubborn of the stubbornness, who don't want to really carve out time for their self-care or don't see the utility, I tell them this. So when you're doing for others all the time, what if you're blocking their blessing or their development because you're doing for them, right? What if doing all the things and being all the places isn't allowing some growth that needs to happen to occur? This happens in relationships. This happens definitely in parenting, but it can even happen in our congregations. If I have to do everything and I can't delegate or I can't allow people to run with it, I might be stalling their development. And usually that works because then it's about helping the other person by your absence, right? So however we need to get to it, there's many reasons why it's okay to take care of you first. And my last analogy, do y'all know what organ the heart pumps blood to first? Is it the brain, the lungs, the stomach, the muscles? Put your vote in the chat. Brain, lungs, muscles. What does the heart? Lung. Good guesses. Good guesses. All y'all wrong. It's the heart. The heart pumps blood to the heart first. They got all these ventricles. The top part pumps blood to the bottom part before it goes anywhere else. And that really landed with me, right? Because if the heart ain't working, everybody else gonna shut down. So pump blood to you first. Your body, it's a natural element of how even our biology works, right? All right. Let's look at some of these tangibles. What do we got coming up? So we may be familiar that there's a lot of different ways to go about taking good care of ourselves. And we want to find out and identify what works for us. One thing I do love about self-care and community care, any type of replenishing and nourishing yourself, is that it gets to be unique. It gets to have your own signature on it. So if you're not a gym goer, don't become a Zumba person, right? If you're not a sit down, meditate person, that's not your thing. That doesn't have to be your thing. You get to create and innovate what's going to be most affirming for you. And I think even that is part of the journey, right? What is wellness for me, right? So here's a couple things that you see: sleep again. You see physical activity with a little picture of a treadmill, but it can be any type of movement, right? For me, it's living room Bollywood. No one's there, but I like to get the blood pumping. So these things mitigate stress. But let's get into step number 1, maybe even 0, okay? A lot of us are what we call alexithymic. Don't ask me to spell it. There's an X and a Y in there. But what it means is we don't have any, and definitely not a robust, vocabulary for our emotional world, right? That's why we say fine, good, all right, never better, right? But there's actually far more words than that. And it's not just about the word. It's about being able to connect to your experience. There's something about the pace and the pressure that we work and the importance of y'all's work, especially this year, that can leave us feeling like we don't have time to pause and ask ourselves, how are we really doing, right? So many of us intergenerationally have been taught to say fine, right? That's a type of disconnect, right? So step 1 is getting honest, taking a powerful and purposeful pause to really see how you're doing. So one of your resources from today is this emotion word list. There's plenty out there, but I like this one for us because at the bottom, there's a body sensation box, right? Us as Black folks, melanated folks, we tend to somaticize our pain. Does anyone know what that means? Somaticize our pain. What? That means we will have a bodily sensation sometimes before we have a label psychologically. Think about it, y'all. Anybody in your family with migraines, ulcers, back pain that is just plaguing them, right? They won't say they're sad or stressed or overwhelmed, but they got migraines or they grate their teeth. Sometimes, and there's many reasons, I'm not even gonna go into it, but we know why. There's many reasons why we can be sheepish, shy, or hesitant to say an emotion, but we will have, the body keeps the score. It can show up in our physical body, right? So if you can't feel a word, check this box. Sometimes we feel agitated or tender or tense. I'm going to keep it 100. Sometimes my shoulders don't drop until the very end of the day when everybody's sleeping and whatever got done did or didn't get done. And I can finally settle in, right? So this is step 1. How are you actually feeling? Can we be honest and tell ourselves the truth? So just as some practice, in real time, how are y'all doing? Find a word, find a sensation, drop it in the chat. I want to hear, how are we doing in this room? Oop, let me go back. How are we doing? Give it a real try. Can you locate yourself? Unsettled. Yep. Shaky. Anxious. Yep. Thank you. The first step of anything is telling ourselves the truth. Because if you don't know where you're at, how are the other people going to locate you, right? Determined, hopeful, the whole spectrum in the room today, right? Excellent. So hold on to this. Mine's laminated. You know, I love a good laminated piece of it. I have this on hand, right? Disconnected, anxious, right? And the truth about feelings is that we can feel more than one thing at the same time. There's room enough for all of it, okay? So before we know what we're gonna do, we need to know how we're feeling. So this is step one. Step two, in any wellness literature that you even cursory look at, movement is a part of it, right? Movement is how our bodies are built. We don't have to be a stage, whatever yogi to enjoy and participate in movement, right? For me, I shared it was dance. For others of us, it could be prayer, just getting down in a prayer position. That is a type of movement, spiritually and physically, right? So just for a moment in real time, because this is the applied portion, y'all, I would love for us to think about what is our positioning that we're in right now. Have we been sitting? Have we been cross-legged, cutting off the circulation? What does your body need, right? I know mine needs a little rotation, lifting your hands above your head, get some interesting blood flow. So just connect with your physical body just for this moment. What does it need? Does it need a hip flexor? Does it need some tunes, a little jig? Taking a deep, oh, my daughter's doing it too. Taking a deep breath and just mm-hmm. Thank you. Yep, legs crossed. Mm. With the air, I don't care, baby, by the way. I'm happy, clap along if you feel like happy, clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because and it's even better when we pair it to music, right? I think all of us should find our go-to song. Mine is PYT, Michael Jackson. Why is it that? Because of that opening groove. Bum, 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 bum. I don't care what mood I'm in. When I hear that opening lick, I have to move. So find your go-to song, something that uplifts you and it really helps you zoom out. That's a term that just means get perspective, that it all ain't bad right now. Okay. Thank you. Let's also talk about, from the pre-work, fueling up. Again, how many of us really see food as fuel, right? Now, food is interesting, right? We got DoorDash, we got all this convenient stuff. And when we are stressed, y'all, we will pick the salty and the savory. It's just how our brains work. When we're stressed, we want that reward loop it's just on lock, right? And now we can get whatever at the touch of our fingertips, right? And in our culture, we got a lot of options. We got a lot of savory, salty soul food that can be more or less what is in alignment for our bodies, right? Everyone's has a different tempo they're harnessing and keeping well. So with food as fuel, sometimes this is where the pre-work comes in. Do you meal plan? Do you have convenient food that you can be proud of, in alignment with? If you're waiting to make the decision in the moment of stress, I'm sorry, but you're already sunk because that habit will take over, right? So this is where the intention comes of what has been my patterns, lovingly looking at that, not giving any fault or shade and saying, this makes sense. When I'm in stress or overwhelmed, I'm going to reach for the convenient, right? So what can be convenient and aligned with my goals of treating myself like a temple? Am I pausing to eat? And when I do, what am I fueling my temple with, right? Now, this is a whole domain that will also take a loving, successive approximations to our goal. But the first question is, how am I treating food? Am I being thoughtful with it? Is it colorful or is it all beige? I've been there too, right? Does it come out of something that crackles? Or can I partner with my community to figure out how other people are getting this done. Y'all, when I became a mom of 2, I literally called all the other moms and said, how y'all doing this meal thing? Because it's a lot. Getting the groceries, cooking them on time, setting everything up. Ask your people, what's working for you? Can I borrow and piece together what's going to work for me? You don't have to figure it out this alone. The wheel has been created. Let's borrow from what other folks are doing. Okay. And especially in this as a faith community, y'all provide so much food. So you know it's nourishing. You know it's a cornerstone. When you want people to gather, to open up, and to really feel taken care of, you feed them, right? You break bread. Are you doing that for you? Right? Big staple, big staple. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, let's take a look at this. Another little post I made a little bit ago. And now we're really going to center on the time factor. A lot of y'all are saying, oh, this is lovely, Dr. Meag-gan, but how do I get it in, right? And this is the truth. Sometimes our work schedules and life schedule doesn't feel like it allows for all this luxurious self-care, right? And I was resonating on that and made this post. If your schedule is inhumane if it doesn't include time for water or sunlight, it's joyless. Even when we love what we do, we might find ourselves locked into a low joy dynamic with the work, right? Burnout. It's missing meaningful connection with other people. It's too fast paced to even notice your own thoughts or feelings. And at the end of the day, you did a lot, but there's nothing that left you personally fulfilled. All right, y'all. This is another one of my soapboxes that I could talk about all night. But we have internalized some capitalism. Has anyone said, oh, I crushed that, or I smashed that, or let me just turn this out real quick? As if we were conveyor belts or compactors. We're not machines. We are sacred biological beings. And we have several homeostases that need to be right. Blood sugar, energy, attention, sleep. Like, we're so far from machines. We don't do anything rote, but that's how we've begun to treat ourselves, right? So where does the time come in to do self-care? Well, okay. Before I open up to your questions, let me really get this point across. Self-care, although we have heard from some people about massages and taking care of yourself, your physical body, the best way to think about self-care is in the small increments, right? So self-care can be saying a prayer or a mantra in bed before getting up, right? And setting the tone or intention just right there before you put your feet on the ground, right? It can also be stretching right as you're getting everything else ready for the day, right? 1 second, Maya. Can you go ask Daddy what you need?
Just so you know,
Okay.
Daddy wants to take me.
Okay, I'll see you in a bit. It's also showing your full humanity, right? And attending to the littles when they come up, right? So the time factor is, what is the smallest unit of self-care I can do, right? So if you find that self-care is reading, but you don't have time to sit down and flip through a book, maybe it's going to be the audio, right? Where you can listen on your commute. This is where we get savvy. Think of all the problems that you have solved in your congregation. Think of just the COVID years and all the new ways you showed up. Apply that ingenuity to your self-care and you will blow yourself away, right? So if this is the goal, how many different routes can I get there? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be glamorous. It doesn't have to be postable. I tell my young people, all it needs to be is for you, okay? So what's the goal? And what's a route that I can get there with? Okay, that's how we factor it into our time. I will also say under the note of community care is have this conversation with your people. Spouses, partners, friends, colleagues. Sometimes we do need the space, right? So on Fridays at 5, I'm signing off. Can you help me with this? Letting you know ahead of time. Delegating, which is hard for some of us, right? Spouse, partner, I really think I would like to take care of myself in this way. It's going to need these resources. How can we make this fit into our system, right? Kiddos, I want to model to you that life isn't just surviving, it's thriving. And so mommy is going to need some self-care time. Let's have a conversation about what that even is. Sometimes legacy and when we become the ancestors is about what are we passing on, right? So that's a little bit on how to engineer the time. And we can't make a 25th hour, but we can reapportion how we spend that time. Okay. Oh, we're doing great with our time here today. So let me open it up to your questions. Take a minute. I know a lot is percolating. Collect your thoughts. Put your hands somewhere on your body. When we connect with ourselves, there's some good brain chemistry that happens. We slow down inherently. So touch yourself somewhere, be it a shoulder, like you would do for someone else, be it a chest or a lap, and think about what you heard. See what's resonating, like, oh, yes. But also check in with what you're resisting, like, I can't do that. Both the resonance and the resistance is information to you. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see a few faces. And I would love to hold your questions and community in our shared wisdom for answering them. I'm seeing that Michelle changed what she listens to in the morning. I hope it's not news because there's just so much to hold. Yeah. Oh. Sierra's teaching her girls to not rush and be frantic. Yeah, the spirit of ease is so important. Yeah. Mm. Ralph has Audible is my friend. Yeah, I really had to accept and let go of reading the pages. I just have to listen now. I'm in that life stage.
Leslie, Dr. Meag-gan said, make self-care convenient. It's the changing of the word, not looking at it like, oh God, I gotta make time. Make it convenient. Like you said, whatever you're doing and you're cooking, somebody can come over while you're cooking. Like I never even put all of that together, I'll just, yeah. Wow.
Make it work for you.
One of the questions that we had was, do you have a list of trusted providers that you could share with us? If we want to take this a step further, if we want to find some coaching or in this area, where's the Dr. Meag-gan in Georgia? I'm just saying. That question. And the other one was, what are some warning signs of burnout and stress for clergy?
Yes. I will grab it here. I have a really good directory where you can search by state and then area code, either virtual or in-person sessions. So let me drop that in the chat while I answer the burnout warning signs. The thing about burnout is a lot of us are already in it. So some of us may have blown past some of these warning signs, but it's nevertheless important to know. So one of the warning signs of burnout is usually what brings people into either to my office in counseling or the medical office, which is chronic fatigue. You're sleeping, but you don't feel rested. And that is, what is even burnout? Burnout is a chronic, non-normative work stress. Chronic and non-normative. Now, work is work, but it doesn't need to be too much all the time, right? And in service industries, when we're literally giving our life force and our who we are is our best tool, we can have compassion fatigue, which we don't talk about because we need to have a wellspring of never-ending compassion, right? We are very hesitant to talk about how when that well runs a little dry, right? And we're starting to burn out. So a lot of us burn out in silence. Well, one of the first signs is the chronic overwhelm and feeling irritable, tired, exhausted, and even disillusioned. That one is maybe a little later in the process where it's like you're disconnecting with the overall mission that brought you to the work, right? And so all those are some signs. Yeah. Decreased effectiveness at work. So maybe starting to drop some balls, not responding to people. Yeah. I like a clean inbox, y'all. But when it starts building up, I'm like, oh, the heat is picking up for me. I have all these little signs. I love to take my lunch break outside, but when I'm like, oh, there's no time, I gotta use my lunch break, that's another sign for me, right? So the precursors to our distress is when we gotta intervene. Mhm. Yeah. So grabbing that, here it is, that link for the directory.
Dr. Megan, you hit on something real key in the beginning that I didn't realize was a thing.
Mhm.
So now you're helping me label what I know that I've been experiencing, right? So I think I have on that very one of the earlier slides you said that I think I've tied my worth to productivity, right? I feel like, you know, I look at my schedule, right? And because I tie my worth to productivity, I'll pack my day, right?
Yes.
Being unrealistic with what I can probably accomplish. So, my time management skills are off. I'm packing my day. And then the day feels so busy, but I lay down and say, I still didn't do what I needed to do, or I still didn't feel productive. So I have even taught myself, like, nah, you can't get no sleep tonight. You need to do this. And, like, what a punishment. What a
Yes.
punishment. So
Mhm.
I didn't realize that was a thing, that it was because I've tied my worth to that.
Yes. Yes.
So you get on this hamster wheel and you want some relief, but I didn't realize that was a thing, that's what I was doing, was tying my worth to the wrong thing. So I think for me, I want to find a way to build some pockets, because I think self-care for me is going to look like breathing in between the day, right? Breathing
Yeah.
between tasks, because I don't know if anybody is like me, but things like the nail shop and hair salon, it has started feeling like a chore instead of a self-care, if that
Mhm.
makes any sense, right? And of course, that's a whole list of, like, how you do it and where you go and all of this stuff, and finding the time. Oh, I got to do it before the kids get out of school, I got to be in the pickup line, so that kind of thing. But I think I want to just do something so simple as carving out those pockets. So,
Mhm.
like, I think I'm trying to figure out how I carve out them pockets,
Mhm.
um to just take a breather. I think we feel like, and I know as mothers, like you said, as parents, we feel like, nope, from 1 to 1:30 is not free time. I must be doing something. I need to fold some towels. Surely I cannot just sit down on the bed.
Yes. Yes. Mhm. You're not alone. Number one, actually far from alone, that we've tied our worth to productivity. It goes way back and it's bigger than all of us, right? And disentangling that is going to be a great journey. You're worth that work. Stay the course.
Yeah.
If you get nothing done, you're still who you are and you still matter. So when you get that laundry, smell one of them, wrap around you while it's still warm, right? And then sit down. Sometimes I love to prescribe my clients the homework of the 3 S's: solitude, stillness, and silence.
Mm.
What comes up for us when we actually retreat to by ourselves, get still, not do something, and get silent? Some of us are a little anxious about what might come up if we're not attending to something else. That's data. Why can't I be still? What am I worried I'm going to have to worry about, right? But when we do so, we can finally start tapping into us beneath the work. Yeah. Yeah. Stay the course. I'm excited for you. Mhm. Yeah.
Wow, Dr. Megan, these last 30 seconds, like I told y'all to get y'all a notepad. Who need another notepad? We'll mail you one, because the 3 S's. Okay, who gonna sit and be quiet? I can't. And I can. Sierra, the pockets, carving out the pockets of time. What a gem. I'm wow. Are there any other questions, you all? We're getting close to the end of our time together. Dr. Meag-gan, we need to wrap you up, put you in the car, and I mean, like, I'm gonna need y'all to come on to GA, to the South. Leave Kelly, behind, like, y'all come on, because as I said earlier, you all, she has, yeah, right, y'all, let's put on the plane. Y'all put y'all offering the tithes in there. No, like, we have been so blessed to just sit with you. You've encouraged us, and you've given us tangible tools. Even some more than we can swallow, because some of us we'll say in a minute when we hang up, oh, I got to go do. And Dr. Meag-gan just told us to sit down somewhere. She said, sit down. And we got 30 things we're trying to do. So we're going to grow into it. I know I am. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. Just growing into being better at self-care. Like, and you are the champion. I have a sister in Dallas that is also just like, hey, she's serial self-care. Like, nothing breaks that time. So, are there any other questions from anybody, any comments? We're going to wrap up our time this evening. We are so honored and blessed that each of you were able to join us. I see my Drive family, so thank y'all for coming through. The support means everything. I see my sister Brianna, who started, we call her Bree, but she has her own tea line. Dr. Meag-gan, we're going to send you some tea, compliments of the Steeping Shy, so you can enjoy that as well. But thank you all so much for coming tonight. It's just amazing that we can snatch Dr. Meag-gan for just a minute and have her speak into us as faith leaders and as just people of faith and just life. We're taking what you're pouring, Dr. Meag-gan. I'm glad you're pouring over me so I can, it can absorb in. And when I hear somebody say, you doing self-care like Dr. Meag-gan said, okay, I can remember. So thank you all so much for joining us. Dr. Meag-gan, you blessed us. I see the hand claps coming through. I really enjoyed this. This was great. I'm seeing all the comments come through. Thank you for taking time out to unselfishly help us unwrap this mystery that is not a mystery of self-care.
Of course. I wish we had more time, but
yes, absolutely. We wish we did. Everybody, just know that because you registered for this call tonight, you will receive just a downloadable of all kinds of good information from Dr. Meag-gan. Those descriptors, man, I can't even tell. I'm fine. You're real. I'm falling apart. I'm in pieces over here. Somebody, please come help me. That kind of thing. We'll send that out to you via email, everybody, so you can have that resource. Be on the lookout. We're trying to get Dr. Meag-gan back here in person in September, so we can, have her love on us a little more and help us stretch it out to the end of the year. She's going to help us stretch it out to the end of the year. So we are just grateful for you, Dr. Meag-gan, and who you are. And what you bring to the body of Christ and to each of us that have assembled ourselves here tonight. Everybody, thank you for coming. Check us out on faircount.org. We're building relationships, one community, one street, one block at a time. We are here to stay, and we are here for you and the work that you're doing. So connect with myself, connect with Shun Tucker-Allen, connect with Sierra. She is now part of the team. Woo! Welcome, Sierra. Connect with us at faircount.org. Get our newsletter so you can grab some gems that you can share with your congregation as we get in this season that's approaching. We need everybody. I got on my referee jacket, so we need everybody to get in, put your hands in, and we need everybody. We need everybody in on the team. So thank you all so much for coming tonight. We appreciate you. We love you, and we can't wait to connect again. And that's all, folks. Have a blessed night. We look forward to working with you all, each of you, real soon. Take care, everybody. Take care of yourself. Do your self-care. It's sacred. Do it all. Do it all.
do it all.
Everybody, take care.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.